What's up, everybody? It's your boy DaLion here with BW Sports 1, and we are here with another episode of Combat Zone, powered by Carma Coin. Check out the cryptocurrency that gives away to charities and gives you a chance to win supercars. CarmaCoin.co today. Elite Performance 765-499-1005, where the dream of elite fitness becomes a reality. Call Zach today and get started on your journey. Revved Up Tattoos, 317-537-2667. Book your next ink therapy session with our boy Todd over at Revved Up Tattoos. You won't be disappointed. BaumBurgers, that's right, 7960 US 31 South in Indianapolis. Famous for steak burgers, but they are the bomb. BeeLit Organics, our girl Brittany Carreno has got all the natural products, phenomenal feeling, soaps, bath salts, candles, you name it, she's got it. BeeLit Organics.
Round 1, fight!
Welcome back to Combat Zone here at BW Sports 1, and DaLion today is brought in somebody other than the bare knuckle realm. I'm bringing back the MMA guys, and today we have the Ghost, AJ Fletcher. What is happening, sir? How we doing?
We're good, man. We good. How you been?
Good, man. I can't complain. Like I was saying, if I'm standing upright, breathing on my own, and walking, I am perfectly fine.
Heard that.
So since you've never been here, we're popping your cherry here on Combat Zone today. We want to let the BW Sports 1 world what kind of background in combat sports the Ghost has. So let everybody know kind of what your background has been in your career so far.
Yeah, so I started training towards the end of my senior year of high school in 2015, I guess.
You made me feel old right there.
But I started training then. I trained mostly kickboxing for about the better part of a year and a half, until the end of my freshman year of college. And then decided to go ahead and make a change and uprooted my life. Moved about an hour to hour and a half away from my hometown and started training MMA with Tim Crater and Gladiators down in Lafayette. And before, oh goodness, coffee burp. But before I started MMA and all, I did just traditional team sports most of my life: football, soccer, baseball, all that good stuff. And decided to make a change when it became obvious that, that part of my life wouldn't continue into collegiate athletics and all. So I just picked MMA up as I, started transitioning into college and been with it ever since.
So did you actually wrestle in college at all?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
So just strictly MMA training since then, right?
That's it, man. I always wanted to be a collegiate athlete, and then I just kind of had to do it my own way. I had to go to classes and just, do some training on the side. And I say do training on the side. It was basically classes and training. And that was my life for, the better part of 4 to 5 years, along with studying and all that. And then now I just get to teach, coach, and train myself all day.
Nice. Well, let's look at your extensive background in MMA. You had 2 losses as an amateur, correct?
Mm-hmm. Actually 3. There's one that's not on there.
Okay, so you had 3, and I know that at one point I was watching another interview that you had on your YouTube channel, so we'll make sure to plug that out here in a little bit. You had, those 2 losses, I believe, back to back that kind of really rejuvenated your MMA career and your drive and your ambition for it, I believe, is what you were saying, correct?
It was that, but it was also like I don't want to say I ever lost that. It was just when you start out, you can't go, when you start out before you have any fights or before like this becomes your profession or your life, like you can't just jump all the way into it, right? You have certain other obligations, certain other things in your life going on that you have to do. So it's a matter of like building your life into what you want to become, I think. And at that point in my life, I was still, working shifts. I was working shifts that would make me miss, pretty key training sessions. And I felt like there was just certain other things that I could do that, certain other things or ways I could orient my life that would make me double down on this and make me have that extra time for training, maybe be a little bit broker in the process, maybe not have as much free time and all that in the process. But it was just a reorienting of my life, I guess, if that makes sense, after those two losses.
Yep. And now, I mean, before that, you had a really good run. And then looking at your professional career so far, 8-0, you haven't felt a loss since then in your amateur career. Obviously, everybody loses at some point. This is not in your near future, I guarantee, because I can see it in your eyes. You're like, fuck that, I'm not losing this. So, going into, which is, you're finally fighting on the Contender Series, August 31st. You got a decent opponent across from you, and Leonardo Damiana, I believe is how you say it.
Sounds good.
Sounds right. We'll go with it. What's your expectations now? You're finally, you're moving from the regional scene and the traveling on the lower tiers. Now you're in Dana White's Contender Series. How did that feel getting that call?
It felt really good. I've said this a little bit, but I actually got the call like 2 days before my last fight. Before this last fight that I had versus Ariel Juarez, we had an idea that we were on the radar for the Contender Series, but we hadn't quite gotten any paperwork. It was nothing for sure just yet. So, being young, wanting to be an active fighter, I went ahead and took a fight knowing that, hey, we may get that call anyway. And what just so happens, about 3 days before this last fight, we ended up getting the call saying, hey, you're going to be at the Contender Series. So I didn't really tell many people. My coach knew, a couple training partners real close to me knew, but I kind of had to compartmentalize that whole, hey, you get your shot in the UFC at least for a few days until after the fight. So I had that like initial moment of like 10 to 15, like, oh, we're here. And then it's like reality sets in, like, hey, bro, you got to cut this weight. You got to go fight. You got to just keep it going. So it was a real sobering moment, a real humbling moment for sure. And then, after the fight went the way it did and we got out of there with no damage and a nice win and all, you were able to kind of let it set in and tell my parents and tell my friends and tell the rest of everybody around me who's helped me get here, kind of let them in on that and, just share that with them. So it was nice, but the initial like call, I guess, wasn't exactly what I had pictured, I guess, but after the feeling was all the same.
Right. Yeah. You had a delay of 72 hours before you could actually, let that excitement out. And granted, when you're in this sport in MMA, that is the biggest scene. So everybody is striving to make it there. And once you get that call, it could be life changing. Now, granted, we all know that the pay isn't always there for all of the fighters all the time, but hopefully that gets better in the future. Now, you did mention, your parents, you let them know and all that. Again, going back to that, your YouTube channel, which is just your name, right? The Ghost?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
AJ Fletcher, I believe, or there might be MMA somewhere in there.
AJ Fletcher MMA. There you go. I think that's it. So I was watching that interview that you had at the house, and your parents were on there. They were talking with you, and your mom said, she's never really liked watching you fight, and I can kind of be in the same page with you because I fought amateur, and my mom never came to a fight. My dad did. My mom never could. She always told me that. How did you break it to your parents, especially your mother? Hey, this is what I'm going to do for my life.
So that conversation actually probably came more so like a year or so after my training kind of got started. Whenever I decided to go ahead and make the move from Baton Rouge to Lafayette. She was more so, she was okay with it. They've always supported me in everything I've done, sports wise, school wise, or whatever. They're very, very much so like, if you say you're going to do something, go do it. You have our support. Just make sure you do it. And so I told him after my freshman year at LSU, I wanted to go ahead and pick up and move to UL or Lafayette and finish school out there so I could start training at, MMA gym and start on this journey that I wanted to. And if I had gone, she was cool with it. She was just more so upset. She's like, you couldn't have figured that out like last year when you had like TOPS and you had in-state funding and you would have like basically been getting paid to go to UL. I was like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I had to get rid of all the money before I decided to switch it up. So she was cool with it. And then Dad was always cool with it. They're always there at all the fights. I say they like to have a lens between them and the actual watching me fight. So they like bringing their little iPads or whatever and video, and that way they don't actually see me fighting or me getting hit or whatever. But no, man, I know they're always going to be there. I know they always support me, and having that along the way, it's been cool for sure.
Nice. Family means everything, obviously. And, sometimes your friends, your close circle is nothing different from family. Speaking of that, you mentioned that move from Baton Rouge to Lafayette. Kind of dig us into the training differences with the whole everything that you had before, training by yourself to training with the team, now training with a full pro team. Like you do. What's the differences and how's that feel?
So the main difference at what I was getting in Baton Rouge, it was just a smaller gym, it was, I don't know, a few, 8 to 10 bags kind of strung up. And a lot of the classes, I guess, were mostly centered around bag classes. And there was some sparring every once in a while with some guys who had, had some amateur fights and kind of been around the fight culture, I guess, for a little bit. And we would learn jujitsu on some little mats that were over there. But it was very hey, one of the dudes was a purple belt and he would show some pretty cool stuff. And then the other stuff was just me and my main training partner, I guess, at the time, go and look up some YouTube videos and trying to figure out how to strangle each other with those. But it was good for my first year kind of getting into it as a good stepping stone. I got to develop there was a lot of bag work and a lot of drilling. And it gave me a decent foundation for stand up and in some ways for wrestling and jiu-jitsu as well. But it also the freedom of that, not having classes and not necessarily having a strict curriculum or a lot of the times I would just go there. I had a key, so I would go in there super late at night and it'd be 10 o'clock and I'd just go hit a bag myself. It let me develop a certain style by myself, I guess. Now, I'm sure I picked up some bad habits that whenever I made the move over to Lafayette, we kind of hammered out of me. But that initial year did give me a good foundation to kind of lay my own style, I guess. As to what all I'm getting out of Lafayette now, like you said, it's a lot of the team. It's a lot of being around people in Tim and Eric Scallon. And these are maybe some names people up north don't know, but down here in Louisiana, these are guys these are the OGs of MMA whenever the first wave really kind of started. These are a lot of guys that when Dustin was making his push up, we're right on that, making that push with him. We're in the same training room as him. And it just provided that. And it provided not just a place to go do it, but a community around to help you on this journey that everybody else was also on their own little piece of that journey with you. And on top of that, the techniques that I'm learning here are, they've come from Rodrigo Medeiros in the case of where we get most of our jiu-jitsu base from, or different wrestling pieces. There's just more pieces, I guess, I get to add from other people, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It does. Well, it does to me. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I hope it does to all you guys out there. Kind of going back to that training and stuff, like you were saying, what's your favorite part of your training camp, or not even training camp, not when you're in camp, but anytime, as far as, do you like stand up? Are you a jiu-jitsu, or are you now a wrestler? What do you like?
In terms of how
I know obviously it's striker.
Well, I do love that, but man, those two losses, one of the things I realized was at least after the first loss, was how much I had done a deep dive into my stand-up game, where for 6 to 8 months, I was just every video I would watch, every technique video, it was all very Muay Thai based or Taekwondo based. And all the information I was taking in was based on that. After the second loss, or maybe it was the first one, I realized I need to do that with my other part of my game. So I started doing that with wrestling. I started watching little Khabib film studies, Damian Maia film studies, Ben Askren studies, all these different wrestlers. And I just dove deep and devoted 6 to 8 months after that part of my game. But the more you like do it, the more you learn that like you have to keep doing that for each different part of your game. Like you can never really get solidified with like a steady favorite, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really grown to like love the jiu-jitsu part. I've grown to love the wrestling part, the boxing, the Muay Thai. Like it's just all why I love MMA in general is it's everything combined into one. And you have to figure out how to take something from one part and figure out how it fits into the other part too. And that's like the real part of the game I love, I guess. As far as like what part of the training I love the most, I like the classes. I like, getting beat up by my teammates and all that. But the one thing that I hope I have like long after I've finished fighting and all that is just my love for like going in there by myself in a dark room with a bag and throwing some music on and just going ham. Like that's what started me out whenever I first, got started. And I hope that's something that I can carry with me after I finish too.
That's the roots from you, man. The roots of AJ right there. Going into the dark room, hitting that bag by himself, focusing and just putting yourself into there. I like it.
That's it, man.
All right. So we're here at the Contender Series. So tell us, because I'm not absolutely sure exactly what all it entails as far as on your guys' end. When they get the call, what do they tell you? What's the process now? Obviously it's win or go home type deal. What all does that entail from the UFC?
So in a nutshell, it is the most physically demanding job interview you could probably do. I'll say that. So basically, me and Leonardo are going to go in there on August 31st, and we're going to fight in front of Dana White, Mick Maynard, and Sean Shelby, the two matchmakers. And you're going to try to impress them and try to get a contract. Usually it is the winners, and usually you have to get it by a finish to do that. That's just the nature of the business. Mm-hmm. And it's not always like that. Like I've seen some instances where people have just had a war and both people have gotten contracts or whatever. But in general, you win, you get a finish, you're exciting, you show a good complete skill set. Dana White will bring you in and offer you a contract and all that. So that's what we're fighting for. Yeah, and that's basically the Contender in a nutshell. I've seen people who have gone on it once and not done the best and then gone on it again and gotten a shot. But yeah, that's it. It's a job interview.
Well, you're at the 170-pound class. So we're looking at the rankings right now. And obviously, I'm not trying to get you to go, ahead of yourself and all that, because I want to talk about you earlier in another podcast or another show, talking about going up the ranks instead of jumping the ranks. Kind of let us know where your mindset is and where your thoughts are on that. I like it. I just want you to kind of elaborate on that for our viewers right here to know that you're not necessarily wanting to jump the line. You want to take it fight by fight, working your way up that ladder.
Yeah, no, I see guys who get into the UFC who have like a big knockout and who are maybe a bit marketable, who only get like 2 or 3 fights into the UFC and they're already like calling for top 15 guys, top 10 guys, top whatever guys. And a lot of these guys are young like me. Like they don't see the later side of it. Like, look, bro, my prime is 5 to 6 years from now. If you go by what you look around at most, the highest percentage of people in the sport when their prime, when their best years are, if you try to jump, like I'm going to use Sage Northcutt as an example. I love the dude. He's an incredible fighter, but I think he was rushed a little bit. And I think you see that in that his skills were there in a very big way in one part of his game, but some parts were able to be exploited. And
just like you were saying before,
yeah,
in your own fights.
Exactly. Yeah, I had to go through that learning process, and I don't think I'm done with that. So I think me going in and maybe getting a big knockout or a big finish versus some of the I don't want to say lower level competitions. Everybody's in there good, but lower level in the rankings, I guess. And then calling for like a big jump or a big shot, calling for the media machine to get put behind you. All these things are, I don't know. It screams like flash in the pan to me. A lot of the stuff that and then you mentioned fighter pay. Most people are trying to jump into the top 15 before they even finish up their first 4-fight contract. So they're making the same money no matter whether they fight top 15 guys or guys who aren't in the rankings yet. So it's just, business-wise, skill-wise, development-wise, everything, at least the way I read the game, it just seems like it's more beneficial in all 3 of those areas to mature, let that water boil while you just knock off names at the bottom of the list who are really around your rankings. You're learning from them. You're cutting your teeth on them. You're developing new skills in that process. And then now, 3 or 4 years down the line, well, now I've had 15 fights in the UFC. And now when I'm starting to get in top 15, the learning process has already been had at a lot of the lower pieces, right, where the mistakes aren't, I don't want to say capitalized, but the mistakes aren't punished quite as much, I guess. And it seems like that's the longer lasting way. And I think that's true if you look at the way Dustin, for example's career has gone, or some other people as well.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Dustin's career, like you said, and talking about kind of like the peak of somebody's career. It's not necessarily just because you're young or younger in the sport that you're going to have a better peak or a quicker peak, I should say. You look at Dustin; he's what, 33?
I think maybe even young, maybe 31 or 32, maybe.
Okay,
but
so
he's right around there.
Early 30s, and he was good before now. But now, I mean, he is absolutely one of the top guys in the 155-pound class. I mean, with you, I love the way you're talking about taking that ladder up by that. And you mentioned something that is, I hope that a lot of people listened to and really heard about the fighter pay. You're given a contract, you beat a guy, you jump up because you called this guy out and you got the media behind you. You're still getting paid this much for that fight that should be getting at least this much. I like what you said there. I appreciate you saying that, and I hope a lot more people are listening to that right there. If they don't listen to shit that we say on this show at all, hear that right there.
Look, take this with a grain of salt. I get punched in the head for a living, and I'm not even in the UFC right now. So everything I say, take it with a grain of salt.
But that's true shit right there. I'm not going to lie. That was good. But looking at the 170-pound weight class in the UFC right now, obviously you got Kamaru Usman as the champion. You got Covington that's right back up there at number 1 spot. Who do you think in your mind right now currently is the number 1 175-pound or 170-pound? I don't know why I keep saying 175. 170-pound ranking. Who do you think should be the top 3? Let's give me your top 3.
I think Kamaru's got to be. He's got to be number 1. Just not just the like he's shown that he can dominate in his wrestling fashion and his pressure he puts on. Hopefully he's changed it up a little bit since the few couple foot stomp fights or whatever. But he's shown that he can be dominant in a whole new way after he's still learning as a champion. And that's a dangerous thing when you get somebody who's at the top of the world, who's still learning, who's still beating guys in new ways. That's dangerous. And that shows that's a champion right there, So I think he's number 1. In terms of number 2, oh man, Luque looked good this weekend. I don't know if I go number 2 just yet, but
did Edwards show you enough during the Diaz fight to be up as far as he is?
I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah, Edwards is clean, dude. He's really clean. I'm interested to see how he fights a dude with I would want to see him versus like a Burns, like somebody who's got some strikes, got some pops, but also has that wrestling base, kind of like Kamaru does before he gets that shot versus Usman.
Right.
But I still think Gilbert's up there. I think Leon's up there. And then as much as I don't want to say it, Colby's still up there, but I think Leon and Gilbert, I'd like to see them two go at it and then kind of see the result of that.
So I'm just speculating here. Total bullshit question right here now. With you saying what you did with Cody, is that the person that you would really like to put your hands on in the cage?
Covington?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know him personally. Everything I've seen is just from the media. So, I mean, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. When I go in there, all that, like, who they are outside of the cage, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. It's just like it's a face, it's a body, it's movement patterns, it's all that. I don't know. I just think I don't think he's like that in person. Let me say this. But just when you toe that line of developing a character that you play, those lines get blurred a lot. And I'd be interested to see if he's managed to keep that line completely separated with his normal personality he goes about day to day with. And I don't know. I just think
like I said, I had to throw that bullshit question out there.
Oh, I feel you.
So I want to talk about a couple things real quick, and then we'll get into rapid knockout. Ghost stories. Tell us about ghost stories. Are we still kind of doing that? Is that just kind of an ongoing documentary type deal?
Yeah, this is like my attempt to like capture the come up in some ways. Like one of the things I was really motivated by was not just with like Fightville with Dustin, like seeing somebody from their roots and then having the same, like having that as concrete proof, like 10 years down the line, like you get to say, oh, he was just starting out at this point. And you get to see what that looked like. I also did that like when I was after the 2 losses, I went through and I just did like a YouTube dive of all of the entertainers and rappers, singers, like what was the common thread between them, between fighters, between business people who, you know, sacrificed everything and were willing to put it all on the line to make their dreams come true, what that common thread was. And it became obvious eventually, like there were certain things that they would do that they all had in common that led them to where they were. And am I getting a little echo?
Nah, you're good on my end.
Okay, sweet. Just making sure. But
you got a face for radio.
There we go.
I'm right there with you. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. But this was, I don't know, the ghost stories thing is my attempt to like document some of that in my own way so that people who come up like me who are looking for those little pieces to apply to their own life can look at mine and apply that. And it's also for a way for me to look back and be like, hey, this is what got you here. Like whenever you start getting some of the stuff that you've always wanted, like don't forget, like this is like your little reminder. So this serves as something for me and something hopefully for other people to find whatever route or whatever road or I don't know, little pieces, little breadcrumbs, you know?
I like that. You got a hell of a heart, man. I love that in people, and more people need to have that. And you mentioned something that you said, you know, what's the common denominator? You know, the very first thing is the common denominator with all successful people is actually taking the leap of faith in themselves to do it. That's number one. And, you know, I'm over here doing it in my way. You're over there doing it in your way. And this is it's a happy thing to see people becoming successful, not necessarily on their own, but they had to start out by themselves. So
right. Before anybody around is going to believe it, you got to believe it yourself. And you got to show them, you got to give them something to believe in, you know? So
that's right. That's right.
That's it, bro.
All right, let's hear about the house. So your buddy that you grew up with that came to you and you guys pushed each other on the swing set out in kindergarten, I believe. Tell us about the house, man. You guys have a hell of a bond. It looks like you guys work well together. You know, what's going on there? I'm going to give them a plug because that looks like a hell of a place. And if I make it down there sometime, I want to go visit.
Yeah, man. That was so that's my buddy Jeff Vaquera. We've been best buds since, like you said, in kindergarten pretty much. And we were always on the same football team and all. And I was the linebacker on the other side and he was always the quarterback. So we were always kind of going against each other, but always had that like, I don't know, that camaraderie amongst like, I guess what you'd call like leadership positions on each side of the field or whatever. And I mean, on top of that, we lived 10 minutes away by bike ride from each other's house. So we're always just hanging out, always doing stuff together. And as we just kind of like grew up through high school and grew up through the years, like we ended up at the same college at LSU. And I was actually working at the bar before him.
The doorman? Were you doorman?
I was a doorman. I could slap a bracelet on your wrist like no other, bro. And so I was doing that. And then I think we were looking for somebody to like come fill in a position or whatever. And I mentioned it to him and he ended up coming work and just started working there. And I think there was a 2 or 3 month period where we worked there together. And then I ended up moving out to go to Lafayette. And about, I want to say 6 months to a year down the line of me moving away, he ended up buying the house and owning it and running it with him and a partner or two. And they've been killing it, man. The pandemic down here, and as I'm sure up there, it put a lot of restrictions and put a lot of businesses and a lot of people in tough spots. And Jeff was one who he doubled down on himself in that time. When he couldn't have hardly anybody go into his bar, he used that as an opportunity, or his restaurant or whatever you want to call it, his sweet place that he's now made into both. He figured out a way to adapt, and he figured out a way they did renovations during this time, which is a huge risk, putting down that kind of capital and that kind of money down, not knowing when or in what capacity you're going to be able to reopen. Right. And he did that. He bet on himself, and now they've come back and the place looks incredible. They're killing it. Everybody in Tigerland, as you call it, it's the shining star of Tigerland right now. And I'm proud of him. And I've gotten to see his journey from, running little lemonade stands on the side of our street or whatever to now owning his own place and slinging some hard lemonade, so it's cool to see that,
I like it. All right. Rapid knockout. It's your time now. Everybody comes on. They go through rapid knockout. It's 5 questions. Has absolutely nothing to do with the combat sports world. You can elaborate on answers. It's not really a quick thing. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Number 1, favorite food.
Favorite food. We're going king cake and we're going chicken and dumplings to dessert and then like home food.
Explain to me what king cake is.
So king cake is, they have it in, I guess, Louisiana, probably Mississippi. Yeah, probably just the southeast coast, I guess. I don't know if it goes quite to Alabama and Florida, but it's mostly a Louisiana tradition. It's like a donut / cinnamon bread kind of cake that comes out from January to early March.
Okay.
And it's around the holiday.
Stocks up, huh?
Oh, dude, you can get it from anywhere. Any grocery stores slinging it. They got all kind of bakeries that are slinging it. But cinnamon bread cake. It's got some icing, yellow, green, and purple icing, and it's absolutely delicious. You can't go wrong with it.
All right, and homemade chicken and dumplings is always good.
Oh yeah, dude. When mom makes them, they hit different.
I hear that. Question number 2: what's on the Ghosts playlist? If you could pick the genre, an artist, a group, who is your favorite? What do you listen to music-wise?
Ooh, I guess it depends on the time. I have a pretty wide range.
With your girlfriend or wife or whatever, that's a little different scenario. So you get the baby making music. I get that.
Exactly.
Now, okay, but let's put you in a scenario. Let's say you're back in the locker room. The fight, the events has started, and you're headlining or whatever. You got a couple hours to go. What are you jamming to?
Bro, it could be anything from. Been on a Biggie kick recently. It could be the Fugees. It could be what else? It could be Logic.
Hip-hop.
I hope so. I've heard of some. I don't know. Some of the stuff that comes out now is a little, but
skeptical.
Not the greatest. But I don't know. I have like some rock stuff in there. I just found this dude. What's his name? Cam Cole. He's like he can play the guitar and play the drums with his feet while he plays the guitar while he sings. And it's nuts.
Yeah. That takes talent, dude. I'm not that coordinated.
I can't even tie my shoes and like sing a song at the same time. And this dude's got like all different stuff going on, bro. But I don't know, just anything that like kind of gets me in whatever like mode I'm trying to think about whenever I listen to it. It could be rock, it could be rap, it could be even some like faster paced R&B stuff. It could be reggae in some ways sometimes, depending on how, what it sounds like. It just depends.
I like it. All right. Question number 3. Besides training and fighting, what's your favorite hobby? What do you like to do on your off time?
I like going on little like nature walks, I guess. Around Lafayette, we have my favorite one is by this trail or by this place called Lake Martin. It's like a little 4-mile trail, and it's got like some trees on both sides, and they like go into like an arc, so the whole place is shaded. Which if you're pasty like me, some shade on a walking trail is a very nice thing. So I like hitting that spot. I like doing sometimes that one's actually closed right now for alligator mating season. No shit. Swear to God, it's closed until September. But nature walks.
Is that a month long? What is that, a month-long thing, mating season?
No, dude, they had it closed from either June or July till early September. It's going to be closed.
Okay.
So I guess them alligators, they take a little bit to, get the
I guess
going.
So.
I do that. I write, I read, I draw. They're terrible drawings. I'm not the greatest writer, but I think
you got one there. You got one on your desk that I could see, a drawing. Let me see some. Let me see something.
I'll be right back. 1 second.
All right. AJ is going to grab a drawing, folks, that he's drawing. I love this. This is what rapid knockout brings out of people. It brings the personality side. It's not always about fighting. This guy's an artist. Let's see it. I'm
All right.
man. I'm anticipating this.
Don't build it up too much. You're gonna be let down.
Oh, I
I
built it
promise
up
you.
like hell. Just a minute. Oh
All right,
man.
we got one. I still don't know what it is, but it was fun.
Okay, so hold on. Hold that back up real
Oh, we
quick.
gotta.
I
Okay.
see. I see. I feel like I'm in therapy now. I see a mustache under a nose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My man.
See, love. It's like a woman. The love of diamonds. The two
Okay.
eyes. Love of diamonds. Oh, see. I'm good. Okay. With
Well,
the
there you go.
with I see a an hourglass. It looks like.
There you go. All right. Boom. Then I don't know what this one is. Bunch of just random,
Happy
colors
man.
and shit. Sounds
Happy
like
man. I see the purple is his head. The arms are going out. The body's. Man, I see.
Okay. There you go. You're onto it.
You're like Van Gogh, man.
I don't know. Bro, when I first started, I get this like big idea of some big old drawing I wanted to do, and I get like 2 minutes into it, and I'm like, I do not have the skills for this. So I was listening to one of my training partners. He was like, yeah, dude, I pick out like some tiny little sketches and try to keep it fun. I'm like, that sounds like the way to do it. So then you got these little Lion King fella.
Okay.
Simba
See, that's
looking
not
action.
bad.
Right. Oh, I traced. Well, no, I didn't trace them, but I had a reference.
Not supposed to say that.
No, and then we got Zazu.
That's the Fruit Loops, right? No,
no. This is the Zazu, the bird from Lion King.
He's on Lion King. Yep. Okay.
My man.
You can tell I'm hungry. I haven't eaten anything yet today, other than one Built Bar.
Oh, we got to get you something in your stomach, bro.
I don't want to eat too much now. I'm trying to watch my sexiness here.
Oh, fair enough.
All right. Question number 4. If it wasn't fighting at any type, favorite sport to either participate or to watch?
Would have been football for sure. That was what I wanted to do most of my life until it became obvious that I wasn't going to get a shot with that. But now we've got a shot with fighting, and I ain't giving that one up.
There you go.
So
there you go. Now, I'm guessing you're an LSU fan.
Yeah. Yup.
Okay. Well, around here, I'm about 2 hours away from God's country, the Golden Domers of Notre Dame. I'm born and raised a fan. It hurts. Let me just say that. It hurts. But I was very glad because I won money on you guys when you beat Alabama.
There we go.
The title a couple years ago. I was actually at my buddy's wedding. In the wedding, before the wedding, we're all getting ready to walk into the place, and we're watching it. There's like 5 of us watching it right there, walking up the stairs. It was great.
That's gold.
Oh. 5th and final question. Whether it be personal side, sports and entertainment side, or both, favorite role model growing up? I got curveballs, man. I'll throw a curveball every once in a while, and this is it.
Making me think. It'll probably be.
I mean, I know you've been hit in the head a few times, but I know you got something in there you can still think on.
Just a couple. Big role model, I would say, like in terms of growing up, I always like idolized like Ray Lewis. I just loved the way he like played football, the like physicality he brought to it, the mentality he brought to it. I like those like gritty guys, those ones that like hit hard, the steel curtain back in the Pittsburgh days and all that. I like those guys. I like I don't know, my dad's a big Miami Dolphins fan, so he'd always update me on Larry Zonka and all that. So I have, I looked up his highlights and all that. Just the gritty dudes like that. Those are more the ones I gravitate to. I don't know. It would probably change from year to year, but I remember Ray Lewis always being pretty high up on that list.
Ray Lewis. So we're not going to talk about what any other altercations happened off the field. Just
strictly football.
Gotcha.
Strictly football.
Your dad would enjoy it. Are you a Dolphins fan?
Not as much as him. As much as him.
So your dad will appreciate this. My brother and some of my family was down in South Carolina a couple weeks ago for vacation. And my brother's in the store walking around. It's an island. It's like a private island. They call it an island. You walk over a little creek and that's it. But he walks by this guy. He turns around. He goes, Dan? The guy kind of didn't pay attention to him, but I'm sure he heard him. He goes, excuse me, sir. Is your name Dan? He says, yeah. And he asked to take a picture of him. Well, he didn't want to scream, "Hey, is your name Dan Marino?"
Smart man. Smart
Yeah,
man.
so he got a picture with Dan Marino. I know your dad's a Dolphins fan. My personal trainer's a Dolphins fan. I had to send him the picture when he got it, so I'm sure your dad will appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I know Dan Marino from Ace Ventura Pet Detective. That's my no, I'm just messing. I know who Dan Marino is, but
Making me feel old even more. Who's your pro football team if you had to pick one? I didn't ask that. I meant to ask that.
I go with the Saints for sure. They're just drive away from New Orleans, always good black and gold,
No, I'm a Philly fan. So
Fair
we've
enough.
had some good games in the playoffs before.
This is true. I remember the one thing I remember like vividly in my mind was when we had Reggie Bush. We sent him out for like a little screen pass, and I forgot it was like one of your safeties or cornerbacks.
Boom!
And, dude, he was just like folded in half like this.
And he got up, dazed as hell. He goes, "Welcome to the NFL."
Yeah.
Oh man, it's been fun. AJ, the Ghost, Fletcher. Now is the time where you can shout out your sponsors, your friends, your family, your co-workers, whatever you would like to send out the shouts to. The floor is yours, brother.
Word, yeah. Shout out to Jeff once again at the house. Thank you for sticking by me, brother. I look forward to getting back there after the fight and checking out the new spot again. Big thanks to KOK, Kitchen on Clinton, chicken wing place that I'm also going to absolutely tear up over here in town after I can have a little fun with my diet. Yeah, man, just thanks to my coaches and team. Like I'd say this a lot, but all my skills, all my mindset, my mentality, they're all ultimately things I've learned from my coaches and little pieces I picked up from my teammates and people around me. So just thank you all for giving me those, and thank you all for making me into who I am and helping me get to where I am now, and hopefully, continuing to rise.
Well, AJ, again, thank you for coming on and spending some time with DaLion here at Combat Zone. We wish you best of luck. We're looking forward to watching you on August 31st at Dana White's Contender Series. And after that, you get that win and you get that contract. We'll have to have you back on to talk about that and celebrate a little bit with us.
Sounds like a plan, man.
All right. Every day is a new day here at BW Sports 1. Check all the happenings out at BWSports1.com. And for Combat Zone, this is DaLion, and I'm out. Peace.